So welcome to the latest update of the Hinkley Point C virtual tour. Today we're going to visit the bunkers themselves. So we're going to look at actually parts of the containment being built, the rings, and actually the iconic dome. We're then going to move to the reactor building where actually we recreate the heat to make steam. And then we'll go into the turbine hall where we'll see where the biggest turbine in the world will eventually be spinning at 1500 RPM, producing 7% of the country's electricity. And finally, we'll go to what we call the HCT shaft, where we'll see where the water that will eventually come in from the Bristol Channel will actually go to the outlet 1.8 kilometres into the Bristol Channel. Okay, welcome to Bunker 5. Here at the moment, you can see the 100-ton temporary structure that we built here to actually build the dome itself. So the iconic dome structure has about 38 panels, all of which we plan to actually bring in by sea via our temporary jetty, which will remove a lot of traffic off the road here in Somerset. When them panels arrive in here, they're welded. There's about half a kilometre of welding that we actually do in here to join them panels together. And our plan will see this dome lifted out of here at the back end of the summer, ready to actually put on top of Unit 1 at the end of 2022. So now we're in liner ring 2. So this is actually part of the containment of the reactor building. Really important we get the quality right. Here we've lifted this ring out, so the ring's 50 metres across, 17 metres high. And here at the moment we're just planning and preparing to do the coating and paint work before it's actually lifted on to Unit 1 towards the back end of 2021. The actual containment itself contains 3 lifts of these rings. So there's one more to go after this, which has got the polar crane brackets on. And then finally we lift the dome on, which we saw earlier in the video. So in this liner ring, it's important that we've learned and get the quality right. But it's also important we become more efficient. We've created a factory environment here at the site to build this containment. And here ring 2 has actually done 36% more efficiently than Unit 1. So welcome to Unit 1's nuclear island. So we stand now really in the battleground of our endeavour to get to dome lift in 2022. Behind me you can see the internal structures really starting to take shape. So our first battle at the moment is really to get the ring wall base built, and you can see there's been good progress. In the middle you can actually see the circular sections where actually the reactor pressure vessel will sit. But we've got probably 2 more layers to go on top of that before we got to the level where that reactor pressure vessel will actually be. And then what you start to see is all the rooms that will support all the safety systems for the reactor. And all these penetrations you can see around the outside here actually will bring in cables and pipes to support all the systems that will eventually be in this building. Our endeavour this year is to get inside here, is to get to what we call the 5.15 level, and that is actually the level where we can start to build the tank, but in which the reactor pressure vessel will sit, which obviously makes the heat to eventually turn our world-beating turbine here at Hinkley Point. So now we've entered Unit 1's turbine hall, which will eventually house the largest turbine in the world, producing over 1,600 megawatts of electricity, about 3.5% of the UK's actual demand of energy from one turbine. Amazing. So here today, if you look behind me, the famous blue columns, which eventually the turbine unit will sit on, you can see we're making progress in preparedness for building the concrete table that will go on the top of them columns that will eventually house the turbine and generator units. Behind me here, you can actually see this is the first steel beam that we'll put up to create the turbine structure. So we're in good shape to put that first beam in later this month. And that'll be part of 3,100 tonnes of British steel that we've put in the turbine to date. This is the end of our virtual tour for today. So behind me, tunnel boring machine Emmeline is around 700 metres out into the Bristol Channel. We've now come down the HCT shaft. So here's the tunnel itself. It's actually 7 metres in diameter. 8 metres diameter machine that actually has to dig the holes to put these segments in. And out at sea, about 1.8 kilometres, we plan to place the heads that will eventually sit on the bottom of the sea, put in place by 2 big lifting machines on the inlets, and the outlets of actually a single lifting machine. And they will actually be there for 60 plus years, allowing water to flow into the turbine area, the condensers, to turn the steam back to water, and then through this here, the warmer water will go back out into the Bristol Channel. So here we conclude the tour. I think where we are at the moment overall at Hinckley, we've done 7 out of our 21 milestones for this year. I think we all are very glad to see that potentially we've got an exit plan for COVID, which we plan to implement in June, and we can really ramp up to deliver the high volume of work we need to support the Dome lift in 2022 and a high volume of activity to support net zero in 2026.